Gideon is a natural-born loser who gets kicked out of the hero's party for having weak stats. He flees the country to start a new life as a legal drug dealer. But everything changes when he begins to clap a freaky princess, which reveals his hidden powers. One day, he goes to sell his medicinal herbs at a shop, and while he does, an ugly idiot mocks him for the kind of sword he has. He replies that he is not seeking adventure as he dreams of opening his own pharmacy, shocking them. However, when he steps out of the shop, his brain reminds him of how broke his ass is to afford that. Later that night on his bed, he thinks about when one of his comrades in his previous guild, named Ares, humiliated him by calling him a liability to the entire guild, as they always have to protect him every time, because he only possesses the divine blessing of the guide, and can only guide the team at the early stages of an adventure. For context, all living things have a blessing, which is bestowed by the Almighty to guide people's lives and grant them strength. These blessings are called divine blessings. Ares told him that they didn't need him anymore and asked him to quit on his own so he wouldn't be a burden on his sister. Before he left, Gideon asked him to do him a favor by not revealing that he had to leave because he was a liability to retain his honor. Afterward, he changed his name from Gideon to Red and moved to a city where no one knows him. The next day, he heads into the forest to gather medicinal herbs, and while he does, a funny-looking beast with the head of a cock spots him and attempts to attack, but he escapes his sight before it can get to him. As the beast leaves, he thinks of slaying it but changes his mind, since he is no longer in the hero's party anyway. He meets a guild as he returns who asks him to join them, so he can guide them through the forest in slaying the owlbear he met some moments ago. They tell him that joining them could potentially increase his rank as an adventurer, but he turns down the offer, saying his only dream is to open a pharmacy and live a secret life. Later that night, while he calculates how much he has gathered for his dream shop, his elf friend, Gons, comes in haste to tell him a little boy is gravely ill. So Red follows him to check on him, and upon getting there, he sees the sick boy blushing. The doctor who had been treating him tells him about the disease, and after checking him, Red realizes that the boy needs to be administered the right medicine ASAP, but there has been a low supply of medicines. However, he reasons that he could get them in the mountains, and Gons immediately begs him to go there even though it has been dangerous there recently, offering to pay any price he asks. He thinks the mountains are off limits, as the Adventurers Guild could expel him if they find out he went there, but he decides to go anyway and tells Gons not to tell the guild about it. He soon heads out to the mountains and activates his super speed, making him run like Naruto. Upon getting to the forest, he discovers the Fire Nation has attacked. However, he isn't discouraged and pours some water on his head before entering the fire to get the medicinal herbs. While he does, the owlbear he failed to isekai earlier suddenly appears, and he immediately realizes that it had escaped from the party that asked him to join them. The beast attacks immediately, but he quickly draws his sword and isekais it in one slash before taking his leave. Albert's party later arrives and finds the beast dead. Albert recognizes the sword style used to isekai the monster, but he says no word. Red finally treats the boy, and they all thank him, including the clueless doctor, who tells him he will be his first customer when he opens his pharmacy. On his way home, Gons quickly catches up to thank him again, and Red asks that they discuss what his reward would be. 4 months later, Red finally completes his pharmacy and celebrates its opening. This was the reward he had asked from Gons. He paid for the building materials while Gons handled the building from start to finish. Following this, Red isn't having many sales at his pharmacy, making him feel terrible as he reasons that his medicines will expire if it continues this way. A lady suddenly arrives, and he is shocked to see that it's Rit. They both get talking over a cup of coffee. He asks her why a cute princess like her is working as a bee adventurer in this kind of city, and she replies there's a contention among the people over who will get the throne between her and her younger brother, so she decided to leave before it tears her family apart. She learns about his new name and asks what's up with it, as it sounds similar to hers, and he tells her that he couldn't think of anything else, so he based it off hers, making her blush because this means he was thinking about her. She then asks what the heck he is doing here anyway, and after he explains what happened to her, she gets pissed, saying he was very useful to his previous party. However, he tells her he was a liability, and it was best he left so he wouldn't put the lives of his comrades in danger. She asks if his sister and the rest of the party are okay without him, and he replies that they should be fine since they just defeated Gandor, one of the 4 heavenly kings in the Demon Lord's army. The two then recount when they met and how they fought together in the past. Afterward, she asks him if she can start to work here at the pharmacy, but he refuses and tells her that she shouldn't be considering that because she is one of the only 2 adventurers in the town. She tells him she will retire, and he replies that instead of breaking even, his shop went broke, so he can't afford to hire anyone at the moment. But she insists on working for him, saying someone has to look after the shop when he is out gathering herbs, as it would be a waste to close each time he is going out. He agrees, but also tells her that he doesn't have many customers anyway. However, she replies that his customers will grow, and then asks if he has any concoctions that can only be found in his pharmacy, so he brings out some. He then begins to explain how he multiplies them, but upon hearing his stupid technique, Rit laughs at him and tells him she used to think he was smart until he spewed out the nonsense he just said. However, she tells him this makes her desire more to be with him. Then he tells her she can come to assist him whenever she is available, but he can't guarantee good pay. Later, while they eat, she is excited at his delicious meal and tells him she will be enjoying his meat daily, surprising him that she wants to be coming daily to eat at his place. She also offers to pay for a bathtub for his bathroom, but he objects, saying he can't have her spending that much on him. However, she replies that she doesn't mind since she will be using it too, making him wonder if she also plans to be taking her bath here. She then asks about his bed and offers to buy another one to make them two, shocking him. So he tells her she sounds like she is going to start living here, and she replies that's exactly what she is doing, but becomes shocked upon realizing what she means. Meanwhile, in a different town, Ares introduces a young girl named Tis to the hero's party instead of Red. She is said to have the divine blessing of the assassin. After they all welcome her, the hero tells her that their next mission is to hunt for the weapon the previous demon lord left behind, and they will set out at dawn. Red wakes up the next day to a pair of melons staring at him, and he wonders if he should eat them before brushing his teeth. She later wakes up and complains that she had trouble sleeping because his bed was uncomfortable, typical of a brokey. She soon begins to eat his meat with great delight, and while she does, she tells him she is going to buy a new bed that day, and after that, they will head to the city council to approve his new painkiller. She says this will take some negotiating, but he tells her to leave that to him. Following this, she tells him not to worry about paying her a high salary and rather demands an insignificant amount whose dollar equivalent is unknown. He is surprised and thanks her for loving her job so much that she doesn't mind not being paid, unlike the average broke anime recap viewer with a frustrating job. They soon head to the bed shop, and on getting there, the horrible goblin seller, Storm, becomes excited to see Rit, but upon sighting Red, who once bought a cheap bed from him, he wonders what Rit is doing with such a loser, but she gladly tells him she decided to move in with him, shocking him. Red is surprised Storm is so nice to Rit, and asks why he didn't get the same treatment when he came to buy a bed in the past, and Storm reminds him of how poor he is in 100 different ways. A few moments later, as they return from the shop, Rit tells Red that Storm's got lots of good stuff at his shop, and he replies that he has the Craftsman Blessing, which he has managed to level up. A background voice then explains that the almighty Dimis grants a divine blessing to everyone at birth, which is not impacted by lineage and education. Everyone has a peculiar blessing, and their success depends on whether they can level up their blessing. However, the blessing is only leveled up in one way. You must battle and slay someone who has a blessing, no matter if your blessing is battle-related or not. As they continue walking, Red sees an ugly fatso beating the shit out of the little elf boy named Tanta. He healed the other day, and he quickly intervenes. However, the nasty overweight moron suddenly grabs a stone and throws it at him in anger. But Red blocks it with his sword, and the fatso runs off with the other children. Red soon discovers that Tanta's friend, Al, was injured by the bully earlier, and he patches the wound for him. Al then says the fatso, named Ademi, wasn't always like that until recently when he started getting violent. Red realizes that it is probably because his blessing has awakened recently, as it is quite common for blessings to change someone's personality, and in a few cases, turn someone into a moron like Ademi. Ademi's blessing seems to be Tavern Brawler, which gives him the ability to turn anything into a weapon, making him a fearsome fighter. Upon hearing this, Al becomes scared that he might also become like Ademi when he starts to get in touch with his blessing, but Rit comforts him, and while she does, Red thinks about her blessing, Spirit Scout, which makes her a scout for forest dwellers. He reasons that this could be why she couldn't live quietly in the castle, as her blessing naturally craves freedom. After that, Red and Rit go to the medical council to get approval for their newly invented medicine, but the Baldy, who looks like a piece of shit and is responsible for approving medicines, is the saddest, battling personal issues, so he kicks them out claiming that he is busy. However, Rit pulls some strings and fixes an appointment with the chairman of the council, who informs them that the ugly Baldy is having a bad time because he approved a drug 1 month earlier, which is now being misused, so he is facing a lot of trolling on Twitter. The chairman, however, says he will personally approve their medicine since it is a request from a B-rank adventurer. They return home, and Rit tells Red they need a hit product that will sell out quickly, but he replies that they eat something first and think about it later. As soon as they start eating, she commends his cooking skills and tells him he can sell food alongside his medicines, but he thinks this is ridiculous. However, he suddenly comes up with an idea of making medicines in the form of sweet cookies, which people would love to buy. He begins his experiment. Insert let him cook magmay or any related one. And after cooking, he comes up with delicious cookies that sell out the next day. Afterward, Red is excited and carries Rit up like a trophy. Meanwhile, in the hero's party, an issue arises as Danon blames Ares for chasing Red away from the party, which has affected the state of supplies and negotiations. He threatens to leave the party if this shit continues, as he only decided to join because he thought it was the fastest route to defeating the Demon Lord. Rudy, Red's sister, hears this and quickly appears to permit him. The next day, Red wakes up to see 2 huge eggs beside him, and this time, he wishes to insert his sausage and eat them for breakfast. Afterward, while they work in the garden, he is pleased that he is living a good and peaceful life, instead of living a future of constant battle in the hero's party. A couple of minutes later, Red steps out, and while Red prepares some medicine, Albert appears. Red asks what medicine he is looking for, and he replies that he wants to know the truth about the owlbear, because it seems that it was cut down by a dull blade that resembles Red's shitty sword. Red denies isekaiing the owlbear, making Albert angry, who then threatens to unalive him if he keeps denying. However, Rit suddenly comes in, attacking him and breaking his sword. She threatens to send him to Nirvana for holding his sword up to Red, but Red stops her and tells her Albert was just asking him to join his party. Rit then tells the fool to get the heck out, and he scrambles away like a sissy. Red asks Red if he is okay, and she wonders why he didn't defend himself, but Red tells her he knew an Albert, who stopped at the last second before hitting him. Following this, they have another dinner together, and they are so excited they are now living together. Rit remembers they still need a bathtub, and she desires they get one big enough to contain both of them so they can have enough space for an intense shower plot. However, Red asks if she would love to go to sauna, and she immediately agrees. The next day, Red, Storm, and a gray-haired paper bag-faced idiot are having an intense male competition on who's built like a Chad. Red wonders how the heck they got here, since they are supposed to just enjoy themselves in the sauna. The gray-haired guy, Gons, and Storm begin to tease him about living with Red, but he snaps at them and tells them to mind their business. They continue challenging themselves, and after a while, Red stands up, revealing his male plot, and goes to increase the heat. Upon seeing how big his magnum is, Gons loses it and passes out immediately. Afterward, the sauna owner complains that customers haven't been coming here because there's a new expensive sauna around, which could make him go out of business. Neo and the other try to encourage him by buying drinks, and after this, they think of what to do to keep the old man's shop open. Red says the sauna must have something the other one doesn't have that will keep pulling the customers, and she asks Rit if he has any idea. Rit comes up with an idea and soon goes to deliver a sack full of medicinal herbs with therapeutic effects to the old man to put in his sauna. The old man is happy that this will keep the customers coming, and he appreciates them for helping by giving them free access to the sauna. Later, while Red steams his balls, Nao and Rit suddenly enter to join, shocking him. He quickly covers himself and asks why they are here, and they reply that they want to develop plot with him. He says Nao is married, but she replies that her husband does not have to know that we live in an evil world. He tries to take his leave, but Rit stops him, and Nao tells him to be a real man by taking the offer. Red agrees, and after some time, they begin to talk while enjoying the heat. Red soon begins to turn red as he sees more plot until he falls over. Storm, Red, and Gons continue their intense men's competition, and this time, Storm goes from green to red, and as soon as Nao enters, he passes out. Afterward, they walk back home, glad that the old man's customers have returned, and Red is surprised as she found this town so fulfilling. Meanwhile, the hero's party is still having difficulty finding the Demon Lord's weapon, and one of them explains to Tis, the new girl who she thinks is already disappointed in the party, that the party was never in such a messy state until Red left the party and the party fell apart. The following day, a group of creeps arrive at the doorstep, demanding an audience with Rit. Red, however, intercepts them, asserting that he knows Rit well enough to speak on her behalf. Despite their grumbling, they agree to wait. Inside, Red relays the situation to Rit, who decides to prolong their wait even further. Eventually, she steps out to confront them herself. Meanwhile, one dude with a face that can make a baby cry enters the store, instantly recognized by Red as a member of the Thieves Guild. The stranger tempts Red with an elven coin, which is worth a fortune, for severing ties with Rit. However, he rebuffs the offer, declaring Rit's worth beyond measure and recognizing the guild's attempt to buy him off. The old creeps tell Rit the different benefits she could get from joining them, but she refuses, expressing her desire to retire from the miserable life of an adventurer and remain with Red. She affirms their bond, declaring they have a lifelong commitment. Overhearing her words, Red expresses his gratitude and proposes to her, offering a gift as a token of their future together. Though she fears misunderstanding its significance, Red assures her of his devotion and asks for her preferences in gemstones. Excited at the prospect of staying with someone she loved, Rit reminisces about their adventures together, recalling a friendly elf from their past who used to be all around Red. This always made Rit jealous, and one day when Red asked if she was okay, she snapped at him, telling him not to worry about her, and the insensitive ugly bastard, trying to be an alpha male that he's not, tells her she was right, making her even more pissed. The elf girl noticed this and told her to come with her to bathe together in a nearby pond. Later, while they washed their plot in the pool, the elf girl told her to stop being stupid by getting mad at Red, whom she loves, whenever she was jealous, and should rather show him that she loves him. Rit then asked if the elf girl also loved him, but she replied that she had learned not to fall in love with humans because they would die before her and leave her alone in this lonely, ruthless world. She assured her she wouldn't be stealing her crush away. They'd all parted ways after a very fierce battle with the Demon Lord's army, and Rit had to stay back to protect her nation, leaving the man she loves. However, she is excited to be with him again and is not leaving him this time till death do them part. Following this, as Rit heads home, a baldy who thinks he is Satama crosses her and threatens to report to her nation, Lagervia, that she is living with a loser in a different city instead of adventuring. He asks her to return to adventuring or go back to her country instead of wasting her divine blessing away like a degenerate. But Rit tells him to shut the heck up and suit himself. She adds that she loves to be with Red and doesn't care what haters like him think. Later that night, Rudy starts to miss her brother and refuses to sleep, wishing her brother was with her. She remembers when Ares came to tell her about her brother's voluntary departure, and suspecting that Ares was responsible, she destroyed him but also brought him back to life like Lazarus upon realizing that she still needs him for her role as the hero. Following this, Red goes to deliver some medicines to the local doctor, and while they talk, they hear a noise from the neighboring house. They rush to the house and find a man lying unconscious, foaming in his mouth, surprising them. Red brings out an antidote, making the doctor wonder how he knows the patient needs it, and Red replies that he has been in the business too long not to understand what a patient needs in every situation. They soon see the white powder lying nearby, and the doctor realizes that it is a drug that was recently approved and is now being abused as a narcotic. The patient is taken to the hospital, and as he recovers, the doctor thanks Red for offering the right medicine. He then advises him to stock more of the antidote in his shop, so he can always come to get it when necessary. Later, Red tells Rit about the situation, and she becomes concerned about the drug making its way into the market. However, Red, realizing that she might want to go FBI mode, immediately tells her it's not their job to investigate it, and suggests that they go enjoy themselves in a nearby river with some chilled bottles of champagne. Later at the river, Rit begins to develop plot, and they both have fun splashing water on themselves. They soon sit together feeling nervous about what to do next, since they are both newbies in dating with no experience at all. As they talk, Rit makes the move to kiss him since he is a bozo. Meanwhile, Tis meets Rudy to ask her when she sleeps, as she has never seen her sleeping, and Rudy shockingly replies that she doesn't sleep at all thanks to the hero's blessing, which conveys resistance to many things. She doesn't need sleep and food or even feel the pains mere mortals feel, as the hero's blessing demands that she is a real hero. Red and Rit return home, and while they work, Rit tells Red the few rumors she has heard about the narcotic drug, saying that it is reported that it makes users feel fly. Just as they talk about this, an injured man barges in and Red immediately attends to him before asking Rit to check what's going on outside. As soon as she steps out, She sees that a member of Albert's party has gone berserk and is attacking people like a madman. Upon seeing her, he immediately charges at her, but she dodges his attack while wondering how the heck this dude, whom she has always known as a weakling. Some other crazy guys appear and surround her, but she destroys them. However, she is almost hit by one of them when some arrows suddenly come flying at the crazy morons. Rit realizes it's Albert and asks why he isekai'd his team members, but Bro doesn't feel any remorse and tells her to treat the ones that are still alive and send in the bills later, making her pissed. However, she cools herself off from unaliving him by practicing a crappy ritual she learned from Reddit. The next day, a member of Albert's party comes to apologize for the mess her party caused and tells them it's because Albert has been impatient with the team. After all, they are weak and pretty useless, which has caused him to be in search of new members to recruit. Red knows this is because of Albert's divine blessing, the champion, which allows him to overcome obstacles and be overly ambitious. Later that night, Red gives Rid his milk to drink, and she is happy to taste it. He tells her he will be so excited to taste her milk too. Then he tells her that milk and honey were Rudy's favorite when she was young, as he recalls his past, when both their parents left to get milk and never returned, so they had to live as orphans. While Red thinks of this, he hears a knock on the door and goes to check, only to find the doctor carrying injured Al on his back. With Red's assistance, the doctor treats the boy and discovers stone fragments lodged in his head wound. Al soon wakes up, shouting that Ademi attacked his home with an axe and injured his parents, leaving everyone shocked. Red rushes to Al's home and finds his parents still alive. The doctor arrives shortly after and helps them recover. Ademi had disappeared after the attack, leading people to accuse the town guard of hiding him. After Al recovers, he asks Red to teach him swordsmanship, so she gives him basic lessons. Later, while with Red, she worries about her teaching skills, but Red reassures her. They begin flirting, and Gons arrives in haste to tell them the town guards took Tanto without explanation. Red and Rit go to the guild head, who agrees to help if only Rit comes under his debt. He writes a recommendation, and they take it to the guard captain, who releases Tanta, claiming he was unaware his men didn't explain themselves to Tanta's family. Tanta's father decides not to press charges since his son is unharmed. Red then asks the captain why he arrested Tanta, and the captain explains he suspects someone from Zoltan might have isekai'd his son Ademi and wanted to question one of his friends. Red points out that Ademi is currently the culprit, but the captain accuses Al's parents of faking their injuries to frame his son. He insists Ademi wouldn't harm anyone, and Tanta agrees, saying Ademi recently apologized for a previous incident and expressed his desire to become a town guard who protects people. Confused, everyone listens as the captain asks Red and Rit to stay for a private conversation. He requests their help with the town's current issues, urging Rit to take on the investigation despite her retirement from adventuring, to which she agrees. Red inquires if the captain's son used the narcotic circulating in the market, which angers the captain. He denies any drug use in his family, but acknowledges that the new drugs appear to grant people a second blessing. Red returns to the shop while Rit is out investigating the drug. Later, while Red trains Al, he asks Red why he's so skilled if he's only a D rank. Red explains that he's content with his current life and has no desire to rise in rank. Al then shares that a one-eyed man from the Thieves Guild recently gave him a sword and a red sickle, claiming it would make him a renowned weapon master. Initially eager to train, Al now doubts whether those thoughts were his or influenced by his blessing. Red advises him to take his time to understand his true intentions by wielding the weapon. Meanwhile, Rit captures a man with the forbidden drug. She takes the pouch from him, but Dude smiles at the fact he is able to see her plot before he dies. Wright steps back, but then the man suddenly explodes from too much excitement. This startles her, but soon more of his allies surround her. She attempts to draw her swords, but they are jammed. She manages to kick one of the men down, and as the others close in, a tall Jigachade intervenes, grabbing them by the collar and knocking them out with a single hit. The man reveals his identity by removing his hood, and Rit recognizes him as Danon, a skilled martial artist from the hero's party. She asks why he is there, and he explains that the hero sent him to find Red. Red worries that he will take Red back, but Danon reassures her he won't force Red to leave since he's found a home here. Danon then unveils one of the men he knocked out, revealing an intermediate rank demon. And Danon asks for her help in investigating the matter, requesting she keep his presence a secret from Red. She agrees later. Rit returns home, exhausted from work, and immediately relaxes on her illegal husband's lap. She doesn't share much about the day's events and learns that someone from the Thieves Guild gave Al a sword while they were away. Red asks her to examine it. Using her magic, Red discovers that while the sword is of good quality, it has a tracking spell, allowing the caster to track its location. Red wonders why the Thieves Guild would want to track Al, but Red is more interested in developing plot with Red. However, she feels guilty about keeping Danon's secret. The next day, Red and Rit take Al to a swordsmith to get his first weapon. As Red helps Al choose the design and material, Red hears a disturbance outside and goes to investigate. He finds a man rallying disgruntled people to protest against the town guard. Red soon finds out the man stirring up the crowd was hired by the Thieves Guild leader to cause unrest. After receiving the new double bed Red ordered, Red is delighted to find her waiting for him on it. The two soon begin to develop plot, but before they can begin clapping, they hear Al's footsteps from outside, making them postpone it to another day when nobody is at home. The following morning, Rit, disguised in a cloak, navigates through shady alleys where she encounters the Baldy and his Thieves Guild idiots. Mistaking her for Al due to a sword of the tracker, they attempt to confront her, but Rit reveals her cunning by outsmarting them. Despite their aggression, she incapacitates them all, only to face a formidable foe who suddenly transforms into an axe demon. Meanwhile, Al, accompanied by a guard, is visited by the one-eyed man who previously gifted him the sword. The man reveals their scheme to lure Rit away and capture Al. Subsequently, Al finds himself in the hands of Big Hawk, the leader of the Thieves Guild, who unveils his sinister plan to harness the power of Devil's Blessing to incite revolution. Following this, Big Hawk stands before the crowd and boldly announces his intent to spark a revolution aimed at toppling the oppressive rule of the town guard, offering Zoltan a chance at freedom from their grasp. To kickstart this upheaval, he urges Al to wield his sword and eliminate Ademi, igniting the flames of rebellion, but Al hesitates, reluctant to carry out such a drastic action. Big Hawk presses on, alleging Ademi's involvement in the attempt on Al's parents' lives. Despite his reservations, Al finds himself succumbing to Big Hawk's manipulative tactics, compelling him towards violence. As Al approaches Ademi, the reflection of his own image on the blade jolts him back to reality, breaking the spell of manipulation. With newfound clarity, Al chooses a different path, using the sword not to harm, but to free Ademi from his bonds. But then he sees the one-eyed man holding an axe, and something inside him changes. Big Hawk explains that because of the Devil's Blessing, whenever Ademi sees an axe, he feels the urge to unalive someone. Big Hawk tells Al to unalive him, or is unalived instead, but before anyone can make any move, a mysterious person in hood steps forward and stops the one-eyed man with one quick move. The man seizes Ademi and then informs the thieves that while they believed they had fooled Rit, they had actually been deceived by him. This man is none other than Red, who had been concealed among the thieves all along. Instructing them to capture him, Red leaps from the balcony like he invented gravity, and escapes with the children and relocates them to a secure location to administer an antidote to suppress Ademi's second blessing. Soon, an adventurer named Bly, who collaborates with Red, arrives and escorts the children away, leaving Red behind to confront the pursuing adventurers. Venturing out to face Big Hawk is Men and Albert, who has joined their ranks. Red parries Albert's attacks with his humble bronze sword. Albert, realizing Red's true strength, acknowledges that Red had been feigning weakness all along. During their exchange, Red notices something peculiar about Big Hawk's behavior. Unveiling his true identity as Belial, a contract demon inhabiting the body of a hobgoblin, Big Hawk reveals his ambition to become the ruler of Zoltan by allowing Belial to control him. Engaging in light banter, Red jests about the challenges of ascending the ranks within Zoltan's Thieves Guild. Albert, spurred by his own aspirations, admits to making a pact with Belial to gain power and eventually confront the Demon Lord. Despite Albert's delusions of grandeur, Red confronts him about the lives lost due to his allegiance to the Thieves Guild. As the confrontation escalates, town guards intervene, leading to Albert's arrest. Frustrated by Red's refusal to engage in his grandiose schemes, Albert pleads for a swift end. However, Red disarms him effortlessly, emphasizing that true heroism transcends physical prowess. Meanwhile, Bowie guides Al and Ademi to safety, dispelling the townspeople's misconceptions about the incident orchestrated by the Thieves Guild. Al declares that he has already forgiven Ademi, and they are back to being friends, so the people no longer have a reason to fight, and they quietly disperse. Big Hawk is arrested and put in jail, and Bowie pays him a visit. He calls Big Hawk by his true name, Belial, shocking him, and he suddenly realizes that Bai is actually the demon general, Shazandan. Boy remarks that it was fortunate they didn't encounter Red, as that would have caused significant trouble. He questions Belial about his plan to sell the devil's blessing, and falsely claims it was crafted from an axe demon's heart. Boy, aware of the drug's true origins, warns his old friend that if humans discover the drug can unlock their full potential, it will spell disaster for the demons. However, Belial announces he is severing ties with Big Hawk, and suddenly transforms into his true goat form. He smashes through the prison wall, reaching Albert's cell, and promises to grant him the power to escape and join the hero's party. Despite hitting rock bottom and losing hope, Albert is reminded by the goat demon that he is bound by a contract to defeat the Demon King and must act accordingly. Reluctantly, Albert agrees to let the demon proceed, and a new contract is forged. Following this, Tiss and Rudy escape with an airship they stumbled upon in their search for the Demon Lord's weapon, and Tiss asks her where she wants to go. Meanwhile, Rudy remembers the goat demon confronting her and informing her they are both on the same side, as he also wants to defeat the Demon Lord. He told her that he had a method to do this and revealed the Devil's Blessing medicine, explaining that it can temporarily lower her current blessing, which allows her to level up faster before restoring its original level. Excited by the prospect, Rudy believed this could allow her to meet her brother again, which is why she got on the airship with Tiss and abandoned her role as the hero in the quest to find her brother. Meanwhile, Rit and Red brainstorm ways to boost their apothecary's income. Rit recalls the hand warmers used in her hometown. With winter approaching, Red distributes free samples of the hand warmers to the townspeople. Later that night, he reunites with Rit, who stands before him with her huge shipment and tells him to grab them. As snow starts to fall, they hold hands and walk until they find a bench. They sit together, and Rit asks if he plans to do anything to her. Feeling embarrassed, but Red immediately drapes his cloak over her before hugging her closely. Sitting next to each other, Rit warns him that if he keeps staring at her, they'll miss the falling snow, but he replies that this is a unique moment to see her amid the snowfall. She then points out that no one else is around, prompting him to lower the cover and swap spit with her. Tiss and Rudy arrive in Zoltan the next day and later at night. Tiss steps out to get something. Unknowingly, she enters Red's shop, and upon seeing him, she suspects that he must be a skilled adventurer, even though she doesn't know he is the brother the hero is looking for. Getting back to their crib, she tells Rudy that she met a man they might want to be wary of, as he might hinder their plans if they work against him. The next day, Red and Rit visit the sick Undine. As soon as they see her, Rit quickly covers Red's eyes while pressing her own plot against him, so his eyes won't behold the evil under the sun. She then asks the Undine with the uncensored plot if she really wants to be treated or wants to seduce her man. Meanwhile, Rudy and Tiss break into the prison to meet Godwin, and Rudy tells him that she wants him to make some devil's blessing, which he fearfully agrees to because of Rudy's intimidating look. The next day, Rudy decides to heal Godwin without using her powers, so he won't discover her identity as the hero. Tiss suggests a local pharmacy nearby, which is popular for the hand warmers it sells, and later they enter the shop only for Rudy to shockingly find her brother there. She immediately runs to him to hug him. Later, while they converse, Rudy asks Red why he left the party, and he explains that he left to investigate the Demon Lord. However, she mentions that Ares told her a different story, which frustrates Red because Ares broke his promise. Red then shares the real reason for his departure, and Rudy tells him she will also be living in this town from now on, shocking him. When Red arrives and sees Rudy, she becomes shocked, and a few moments later, the two girls stare at each other intently, and Red asks Red what his plans are now that his sister is here. He responds that he intends to stay in Zoltan and run the shop with her. Rudy reassures her not to worry because she is also moving to the town, surprising them both. Later, while Tiss and Rudy head back to their inn, Rudy starts to break down because she is resisting her hero's blessing. To suppress it again, she drinks the devil's blessing. At sunset, Rich suggests to Red that he should support Rudy so he can be there for her when she needs him and to help save the world. She holds his hand and proposes they discuss this again with Rudy present. The following day, Red decides to have a serious discussion, and they end up having an intense plot battle in the bath. Rudy asks if Rit has bathed with her brother before, and Rit confirms that she has. Rudy then shares that her brother has always been stronger than her. She recalls an incident when she was 5 and had to save someone as the hero. A giant bear attacked her, but she knew she had to protect the person. Rudy was injured and knocked out but managed to heal herself and continue fighting, only to be knocked down again. And he immediately divided the owlbear into equal halves and hugged her, apologizing for the delay. Rudy tells Rit that this memory made her happy and helps her continue living, even though she no longer feels sensations like warm water or the taste of warm milk she used to share with him. Rudy admits she has been jealous of Rit for getting closer to her brother and wishes she could do the same, but instead, she feels she has only grown more distant. The following day, Rit and Tis embark on a mission to find a way to help Rudy. Meanwhile, Red encounters Dannon in town. They reminisce, with Dannon praising Gideon for his strength and ability to keep the party united. However, Red explains that he cannot rejoin them, and Dannon understands that Red left the group of his will. When Red mentions Rudy's presence in the town, and Dannon sets off immediately to find her. Red is shocked to see Dannon missing a right arm and asks about it, but Dannon walks away, promising to explain later. Elsewhere in town, Ares receives a visit from someone who appears to be Dannon, complete with both arms. This imposter informs Ares that Gideon is in town and demands to know where the hero is, but Ares refuses to reveal the information. Ares then insists on going to the Red's shop, vowing to destroy his life for interfering with the hero. They proceed to the shop, wrecking the whole place and slashing his bed where Red and Rit had promised to develop plot. Meanwhile, fake Dannon smirks and calls him a fool for thinking that would do anything. At the same time, the real Dannon runs with Red, recounting how he lost his right hand. Rit and Tis, arriving on dragons, meet up with them. Rit apologizes for not telling Red sooner that she had seen Dannon. Red realizes that the Dannon Rit encountered was an imposter, as the real Dannon's arm was severed by the Demon Lord. He concludes that the Demon Lord must have taken Dannon's form after consuming his arm. Red vows to fight alongside Rudy to ensure they can live a peaceful life together, and Red agrees, stating she will reclaim her role as the champion. Red rushes to a cave where he finds Godwin. When Godwin refuses to tell him where Rudy is, Red forces the information out of him, prompting Rudy to appear. Red reveals that Tis informed him about the Devil's Blessing and that he has been searching for a way to suppress it. Rudy, feeling guilty for her past actions, asks for Red's forgiveness, and he comforts her with a hug. Reuniting with Tis and Rit, they are attacked by a swarm of eyes, which Rudy fends off. They track the source to Ares, who declares his intention to stay by Rudy's side. Ares assaults Red, slamming him against a wall. When he demands Rudy return with him, she stabs him just above his male plot, warning him to stay away. The fake Dannon then transforms, providing Ares with a healing potion and hinting at his special weapon, hidden beneath that, could help win Rudy back. Dannon, accompanied by Theodora, enters the location, and she immediately expresses regret for any decisions she might make. But Dannon is confused, wondering what the heck she means. Despite this, he charges forward, demolishing the walls. Meanwhile, Ares walks alongside the shapeshifter until Dannon intervenes, hurling his blade at them. A fierce battle ensues between Dannon and the Demon Lord, and utilizing his enhanced left hand, Dannon overwhelms his opponent. The Demon Lord asks Ares for help, leaving him in a dilemma of whether to hurt Dannon or not. However, he eventually launches an attack on Dannon, injuring him. The Demon Lord gets to stab Dannon, and then finally transforms into his true form and launches an assault, but Dannon manages to thwart his attacks. However, a blade enters Dannon's chest once again with the Demon Lord's foot. Seeing this, Ares feels calm, as this isn't the first time he's betrayed a friend. He knew that Gideon was a formidable member of the party, but still chose to send him away because of his selfish desires. Ares and the Demon Lord head downstairs, and they encounter the Sacred Avengers, Holy Demon Slayer weapons. There is supposed to be only one, but Shazandan had managed to have 5 of them stored away, and the sword with the hero is even only a replica. He discloses that to restore Rudy as the hero, she must wield one, and he further says that Rudy has to sever all her ties, including her bond with Gideon. Elsewhere, Shazandan confronts Rit, prompting a skirmish. Red joins in, but Ares intervenes, launching fiery projectiles. Despite Rudy's pleas for peace, the clash intensifies, showcasing her formidable strength. Albert locates Dannon and administers a potion to him. Meanwhile, Rudy conjures a powerful whirlwind attack, causing Ares and the Demon Lord to tremble. Observing Rudy's formidable strength, the Demon Lord realizes she is stronger than all the past heroes combined. A disturbance from beneath the ground ensues, and seizing the opportunity, Theodora restrains Rudy and swiftly incapacitates her. Theodora confronts Rudy, expressing disappointment that she has strayed from her destined role as the hero. Their clash intensifies as Rudy evades Theodora's strikes and maneuvers away. As tensions escalate, a dragon suddenly appears and steps on Rit, and Theodora reminds Rudy of Gideon's inability to protect his loved ones without the hero. Red rebukes Theodora's manipulation and defends Rudy. Despite the distraction, the dragon targets Rudy, only to be thwarted by Gideon's intervention. Meanwhile, Ares lays a cunning trap, thwarting Theodora's attack and leaving Rudy vulnerable to the Demon Lord's onslaught. In a desperate bid to save her comrades, Danon emerges, summoning a mighty dragon fist to rescue Red and Rudy. However, Ares retaliates with an electrifying javelin, injuring Rudy as she shields Danon. Tis ensnares Ares with her spider trap, allowing Gideon to deliver the decisive blow, cutting off his two arms. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord shatters Rudy's sword and unleashes overwhelming attacks with his weapons. Undeterred, Rudy confronts him, questioning the necessity of sacrificing her normal life for the world's sake, and he replies that she is not allowed to live her life because this world needs a hero. She then unleashes a blistering assault, shattering the demon slayers with unparalleled speed before slashing him down. However, the Demon Lord is glad that he at least got her to hold one of the sacred Avengers, which has now made her lose her mind. Rudy returns to others, ready to relocate her brother to Nirvana. She charges at him, and he blocks her attacks, but his sword cracks in the process, so he drops it and draws out his shady bronze sword. Godwin wonders if he thinks this is child's play, but Red charges at Rudy and parries her incoming attack before flinging her sword away from her hand. Breaking off from the sword spell, she immediately realizes what she had just done and immediately hugs him, crying, and he comforts her. Rit declares that Tiss's wound is beyond her healing power, and Rudy comes to try to heal her, but shockingly realizes that she can no longer channel her blessing, making her feel terrible for injuring her newfound friend. Theodora steps in to heal Tiss instead, and then tells them she is not sorry for what she did because all she wanted was for Rudy to play her role as the hero she was meant to be. However, Rudy tells them that she is going to live like her brother, as she had never wanted to be the hero. She adds that Theodora is more suited for the role, because she exhibits the qualities of a hero unlike her, who is only doing it because she has no choice. Red does some motivational talking, and they all soon return home. The next day, Rudy has now received a new blessing called the New Truth, which has a crazy powerful skill known as Ruler. This makes it possible for her to dominate and control other blessings, and she is now using it to suppress the hero's blessing. Rudy tells them she is starting a farm, as it's the first thing she has always wanted to do herself, and Tiss promises to do all she can to assist her. Later that evening, they conduct a funeral service for Ares, who has passed on to glory, and he shall be remembered for his treacherous deeds. After the funeral, Danon becomes curious, wondering why Shazandin was able to wield the holy swords meant to slay the Demon Lord, but they don't have the answer and can only speculate. Later that night, Rit expresses her fear about Red leaving her alone and heading somewhere else, but he assures her that he loves her and he will never leave alone because he wants to be with her and clap her until he can no more. They head to the plot battle arena and finally engage in some intense gland-to-gland combat. The next day, Red shows Rudy around the city of Zoltan, and as they later chill beside a river, she tells him she never imagined that she will ever get to spend this much time with him, and that she would make new friends. She thanks Red and asks him if he will stay by her side forever, and he assures her that he will. She becomes excited and soon sleeps off for the first time in this anime, surprising Red. The city of Zoltan blooms with peace, and Rudy becomes the kind of hero that fights of her own free will. The end. If you have reached this far, let's confuse the fake fans by commenting "Rip Red." And if you like anime recaps like this, then watch this video right here.